Because since the morning, the few people who met me have been speaking about this gathering here and told me it's a huge affair. And I said, oh, so how huge actually was it was left to my imagination. So I wanted a bit of a prep before I entered the hall. So I did ask, how huge is it? But it is huge. I can feel it now. So I've been asked to speak on key priorities for sustained global economic recovery. Sustained global economic recovery is, I think, not just this year, but next few years will be the issue to talk about. So even as all the economies are trying to come out of the COVID, the pandemic, and recovery after that and so on, sustaining that growth is becoming the main question, not just because of the individual, each economy having its own special situation which has come out of the way in which each of us have handled the COVID time lockdown, and also because the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war, the impact has affected us in different ways. So as a result, sustaining global economic recovery, which actually was emanating out of the COVID time crisis, but being added in by the various developing situations and the war, the food security related issues, energy security related issues, the transition of from fossil fuel to green issues, climate change issues, all are, if anything, aggravating the concerns of how to sustain this economic recovery. Added to it is individual economies' peculiarities, individual economy and their outcomes and spillovers of the way in which the COVID time handling had happened. So just to give where Indian economy is placed, a brief picture. Of course, I start with being the fastest growing economy. Domestic investment is also robust. So in another few days, you're going to get the GDP numbers for the first quarter of 23-24. As things stand, nobody has a clue, but everybody feels that yes, the first quarter did go on well, so the numbers should be good. So India has actually showcased an accelerated pace of economic reforms in the last 9 years. Reforms had been sporadic before that, not to say that it didn't happen at all. It had happened since 91. All of us are talking about reforms, but it had been not predictable and very sporadic. In contrast as to what had happened in these last 9 years is that reforms, even during COVID period, had happened because we thought that was an opportunity rather than a challenge. So reforms have been continuing. Wide-ranging domains have been covered, whether it's fiscal, whether it's digital, whether it is physical infrastructure or social inclusion. You spoke about inclusion, yes, on social inclusion as well. So all these have positioned India on a higher and sustainable growth path.